On this, got my new Lisle 1500 or something, and first rattle out of the box I broke the coarse hone on this cylinder, and so I'm working now with a fine one, and I'm just using WD-40 there in a can for lubricant, and it's cleaning it out pretty good. I've got just a little bit of ridge here. I'm not trying to take all of that out, but these cylinders were kind of chewed up, and I used a little 3-finger hone. I may go back in there with that 3-finger hone and crosshatch these. This one I did pretty good. This one's not too bad. I didn't really get to work on this one. My battery's kind of dying on both of them. I didn't charge them up last night. But looks like this is a ticket I can see, and I watch the hone until it gets, right up next to the, I can see the oil pushing right to the bottom of the thing. I only got about a ½ an inch. If I go past that, I'll hit my tool here, and I really don't want to break another stone because I only had 2 sets, of course, in the pine. I don't know what this is, probably 180 or 220 something. But the bores are cleaning up nice. I took my little mic in here and I mic'd all these, and I don't know if you can see this, but there's 0. See, they're like 1 or 2 thousandths over 4 inches, and they're all the same. So it's just a slow process. And the only electric drill I got is a 3/8, and it won't chuck into this ½ inch, so I'm kind of have to wait on battery to charge. I'll go ahead and eat lunch and get back to it. Next morning I was looking at these couple cylinders here. They got a pretty good ridge in them still, and these are the fine stones laying there, and I put the coarse ones on it that JB weld worked. So I'm gonna work on these 2 cylinders here and see if I can't get a little bit more of this ridge out of here. See what happens. First cylinder here got, I'd say, 50% of that ridge out of there. I mic'd it, and it's at 503. This is just after a few seconds. I'm going to give it a few more seconds and do it again. Strokes with a hone, with this coarse hone. I took all of these cylinders down to 405. They're between 4.5 and 5 thousandths over. I didn't quite get rid of all of this. I can't feel it anymore. I can still see it, but these 3 here are gone. Can't even feel them. So all of these cylinders at this point with a coarse hone are 5 thousandths over. Well, I don't know if it's 5 thousandths over, but this one's 505, so they're all basically 505. I don't remember offhand what the bore's supposed to be. I'm not going to change my hones. I'm going to go around and do the other side, get them all to the 505, and then I'll use the fine hones and clean that up. I've got this kind of tilted down so the oil will run out the front with the grinding stuff. trying to keep it from going back down into the motor. This one here is the one that had water in it. There's not much of a ridge. This one's about the same. This has got a pretty big one. So does that one. Well, they're all about the same. This is probably the worst one right here. So I haven't really mic'd these yet, but I'm going to run a stone in them for just a little bit and kind of clean it up, and then I'll mic it and see where I'm at. I got this first hole cleaned up. I can barely feel it, and it's showing about 494 or 504, so it's about 4 thousandths. It's cleaned up pretty good, almost all the way top to bottom. I'm going to run it in there, take another thousandth out, and see what we got. I took quite a bit of it out. I'm up to 407, so this 7 thousandths oversized. I'm starting to get most of this out. I think maybe another thousandths will clean it up. It's supposed to be a 4-inch stroke, so 7 thousandths oversized. I don't know what that's going to do. 10 thousandths calls for, 10 thousandths over pistons and rings, but I'm not going to buy a new piston for this. I'm going to try to take maybe another 0.5 thousandths out. I can barely feel this right in here right now, and it's starting to kind of hit metal in this area. This was the one that had water and it was rusted. I'm sure 10 thousandths will take it all out. I'm going to try just a little more and see what I can get. Half with a coarse stone. I can't feel this land anymore. Oh, I can feel it a little bit. Can't feel this one, but I can feel this one. And 7.5 thousandths. I'll probably take another half out with a fine stone. I don't know what my ring end gap's going to be on that. It might burn a little oil here, but I really don't want to take much more out of that cylinder. I'm going to just call that good and move on to the rest of these. These were all 5. So like I said, this one is where are we at here? There it is, right at 8 thousandths, just a little over 8. Probably to do it right, I should probably put a 10 thousandths oversized set of rings in it. I should take it out to 10 and put another piston in it, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna hope that that's good enough and move on to these other cylinders. One that had water in it. This is 1 thousandths over right now. I still got a good lip, and I've got some dark area right there in the bottom of that cylinder. That's where the rust was. So I got quite a bit to go on it. Cleaned up right at around 6 thousandths. I can still see a little in there. This ridge is almost gone. I can feel a little bit of this one. Not so much here. But this one was 7. This one is 5. I'll probably take another thousandths out with a fine hone. But these were the 2 bad cylinders. And I'm pretty sure this is going to be good enough. I don't feel, there's a little ridge in it right here, but trying to take this ridge out. Of course, it's taking the whole cylinder out. It's not like a ball hone or something. It's just scoring it up. It's actually going to take a perfect circle out of the hole. So I haven't really checked them for out of roundness at this point. I'll do that on this one and we'll see what we got. This one was up and down 6/1000ths. Side, it's not the way to do it because there's weight pulling on this thing. It looks like I've got about 5/1000ths, and I could probably, I'm gonna put this at 6/1000ths. Yeah, so it's clearing all right at 6/1000ths. And we're clearing at 6/1000ths here, so it's good enough for what I'm building. One more cylinder here to rough hone, and I can move on to the fine honing. Clean up good at 5/1000ths. So everything's all 5. This one's 7 or 8. That one's 7, and that'll do it for my rough hone. My batteries are going dead, so now it shouldn't be too much trouble. I can use the fine hone. All I really got to do is just clean these up a little and put a crosshatch on them. And this one here, it looks pretty bad, but I'm starting to get good metal on it. I might touch that one a little more just because I'm here and I don't like it. Fine hone. That just cleaned up. Now I gotta try to get it going real slow and move it in and out real fast to get a 45 crosshatch on it. The cylinders on this side done, crosshatched. Managed to do pretty good on this one. This one's not so good. That one's not bad. That one's not too bad. Thing is, you got to have the drill running real slow and move it in and out real fast to get a 45. But I measured these. These are like maybe 0.5/1000ths bigger or less than what they were whenever I measured them with the coarse stones. So I didn't do really not a big job for these fine stones, mostly just to take the scratches out and put a crosshatch in. All the heavy work was done before. Now I'll flip my motor over so I can get to the other side, do the final honing on that, and I'll be done with this part of the job. Fine honed, cross-hatched. I did a pretty good job on these. Almost 45, but I'm sure they're good enough for the rings to seat. Kind of see on this side there's still a little bit of dark near the top of the pistons, but the two rusty ones cleaned up good enough, and new rings. Motor should run fine. It's not a new motor, but with that hone I could have honed these things out 0.1000ths. I got a bore gauge that I could, it's within, I can get it within 1/10, but just a kind of a pain in the ass, and I'm not trying to do a super good job on this motor. I'm just trying to get it to be good enough to be worth the money that I'm putting in the thing for the rebuild kit. It's a far cry from that thing. I may take my heavy stones and just see if I can hone this whole block out to 60 thousandths. Try those two bad cylinders, and if I can I may just keep a watch out for 60 thousandths over pistons. The crank's still good in here, so I could have a good 318. Well, it would be about a 340 at that time, 60 thousandths. But anyway, now I'm gonna try to put my rags down a little better and wash this out with soap. And I've got my little can of super cleaner left over there. I'm going to try to see if it'll wash the rest of this oil out of here. Blow it off with, rinse it with water, and blow it out with air. I think it'll be good enough. It's all cleaned out. Cylinder's wiped out with WD-40. Washed it down with gas and soap and water. Blew it all dry. So all the oil passages are clean. Everything looks good. Don't have any dirt left in it. So next step, start assembling. I still don't like the cylinder here, but I can just barely feel it. And maybe just a tad weak, but I already pushed this to 7 thousandths, and I don't want to take it anymore. I'll put a ring in it and check the end gap, but I probably could get one set of rings, but I'm not really, don't care. It's not like I'm remachining a whole motor. 200 bucks I paid for the hone was fine, and who knows, I might be able to hone that motor out and save it. But my poor lonely AMX over there, I need to get this motor done, get back on that so I can finish painting it. I probably got 2 or 3 days and that thing will be done. On with a 360 here. I've cleaned it up good, and what I did, I just took a couple taps there. I run them through all the main bolts. I didn't find one to fit the pan bolts, but they're not that critical. I cleaned up all of these water pump timing cover mounting bolts, and blew them all out. I run the tap down in there with WD-40 and blew it out with air. So next thing I'm going to do is flip it over and do my head bolts. Power tapping these with a drill and slow speed. And that's all I'm doing, just cleaning up the threads. I already did this whole side, and the drill is clamped on the round part of the shaft there. It's not on the square part, so as soon as it hits any resistance, the drill just slips. And now I'll blow these out with some air. And I use WD-40 here in a can for a tapping fluid, and that should clean up those threads and protect them a little. Now I just move to the other side. Feel it dragging a little and quit. Now keep this washed off and lubricated good. Take the dirt off of it. You can see the drill slip a little there. It's taking some dirt out. Quite a bit came out of that one. Looks like there's quite a bit of all of them down on the very bottom. And the last one. Looked like it might have had, well, it had a lot in it, a lot of rust. So I washed the bit off there, and I'm going to do it once more. Got just a little more out of it. And then I'll just blow these out with air, and that'll clean up my head bolts. And this is kind of important because you want your head bolts to have an even torque. So it's kind of important on an old motor to run a thread chaser down in there. I'm just using this tap, but there's a special called a thread chaser that goes in these things. It won't cut new threads like a tap, but it does clean them up. But if you don't have one of those, you can use a tap. Just be careful you don't get it started crooked. Took a 220 on a air grinder and cleaned this all up. Got all traces of the gasket off of it. You can still see the machine works. It was in this before. So you want to make sure that you have a good clean mounting surface for your gaskets. I haven't checked this block for straightness or anything. You can just lay a straight edge across here. Obviously, if it's enough to see a warp, you know, if you have a good machinist tool, you could probably put it across here and then stick a feeler gauge under it to check if the block's out of line. Probably the block should be resurfaced. It don't look that bad though. Looks like I got a little more gaskets right in here. Need to clean up. But this side here is good. Of course, I had it out in the light. I'll probably flip it over and work on the other side a little more where I can see. Anyway, that's important to get all your gasket surfaces really clean. And then once I've got them clean with a little sander, then I'll use this non-abrasive disc. I don't know what they would call this stuff, but it'll take off a little bit more of the dirt that's on here. And then of course I'll have to wash it all down again with soap and water. I probably got a little grit left in it from the honing I did, but another good wash and I should get rid of just about everything that's in this motor. What little bits left, probably the filter will pick up. Anyway, that's kind of important to make sure you got good clean surfaces, and the same goes for the heads. Now I started, I'm going to knock these freeze plugs out. I just drove a punch in here just to make a hole, and now I'll flip one on its side and take out these freeze plugs, and I got new ones. The back ones I'm not going to really, I don't know, I might replace them too. But I got a whole set. Yeah. Since I'm putting this motor together, it ought to last, 70 or 80,000 miles anyway. So these freeze plugs have a nasty habit of rusting out. So I'll fix that and make this motor as good as I can. You can see the tremendous amount of rust down in there. This whole block's almost full right here. I mean, really, there's at least a cup in there. That probably caused some hot spots in the motor. This one had quite a bit, not as bad as the other one. And this one here, I can see down in between these cylinders, it's just full of rust. So I'm just taking a screwdriver here and kind of knocking this stuff out, digging it up as much as I can. I'll flip it over to the other side. Most of this will get dumped out on the floor, hopefully. And we can flush it with water and get the rest out. But you can see this thing is just full of rust. I mean, seriously. Right up to the bottom of the freeze plug. You see a little bit fell out there. The front ones are not too bad, but this back one is just packed. I'm sticking this down in here, probably 3 inches in between those cylinders, and it's just completely jam-packed. I'm just trying to dig as much as I can out with a screwdriver, and I'm glad I decided to replace those. That wasn't hardly much water at all circulating to the back of that block. Hopefully now I can get that cleaned out a little. These freeze plugs aren't really pointed down yet. I'm going to rotate it a little more and get it down, and then try to hit it with some air and blow as much as I can out here on the floor before I roll it outside and flush it. That way I can pick this up and I don't get it all over my little driveway. I already got a bunch of junk on it now. So, try to blow with air and see how much I can get on the floor there. Washed down, I took a wire brush, cleaned up all these surfaces. Blew it out good with air, soap and water. And I probably got rid of a lot of the grit. But can't really tell it. There was a lot of rust come out of it. Thing is, this can dry up and then I can sweep it up. It's kind of good having a little lake right there so it don't go everywhere. Now I'm got a new set of freeze plugs and I'm gonna put them in. I did take these out of the back and they weren't as bad as the sides, but it's a good thing I did. This thing's been run without antifreeze for a very long time. The side plugs were almost completely gone. No surprise, it was probably overheating. And with that timing chain like it was, I was going to run real retarded timing. That'll make it even get hotter again. So what I'm going to do is I've got a new set of freeze plugs. Normally you use Permatex. I'll show you here.